After my sister got pregnant, my parents decided she deserved to have my apartment. They made a list of reasons why I should move out. When it didn't work, they brought in lawyers, even forging documents to force me out. I, 28M, need to share what happened last Sunday, because I am still processing whether I am living in reality or some bizarre alternate dimension. I was having my usual monthly dinner with my parents, 55, 53, and my sister Sarah, 26, at their house. Everything seemed normal until dessert, when my father cleared his throat in that way. That means family business discussion is incoming. He pulled out his phone, opened what looked like a prepared presentation, and said, "Michael, we need to discuss the apartment situation." I assumed he meant Sarah's apartment search since she had recently announced her pregnancy. She and her boyfriend Tom had been looking for a bigger place since their current studio was admittedly cramped. "Sarah will be moving into your apartment next month," my mother stated, cutting a piece of pie with surgical precision. "We have already reviewed the timeline. You will have 3 weeks to find alternative accommodations." I laughed. Actually laughed because surely this was some weird joke, but their faces remained completely neutral, like they had just told me tomorrow's weather forecast. "I am sorry." What I managed? My father swiped to the next slide on his phone. An actual slide. The data is clear. "Michael, your 2-bedroom apartment has 1,100 square feet. Sarah's studio has 450. With a baby arriving in 5 months, the space allocation is illogical. You are one person occupying space meant for 3 to 4 people. That is my home." I said, still convinced I was misunderstanding something that I pay for with my job that I have lived in for 3 years. "Exactly?" My mother nodded as if I had made her point. 3 years of equity built with the landlord. Sarah will not have to go through credit checks or deposits. It is the most efficient solution. Sarah sat there, hand on her stomach, nodding along like this was all perfectly reasonable. "The nursery would go in your current office," she added helpfully, "and Tom's music equipment could fit in the living room corner where your bookshelf is." I looked between them, waiting for someone to crack to admit this was elaborate performance art. "You are seriously sitting here telling me to give up my apartment that I found, that I furnished, that I pay $2,200 a month for because Sarah got pregnant?" "Families with children have priority over single adults," my father said, pulling up another slide showing apartment prices in our area. "We have identified several suitable studios for you. Here is one for $1,400. That is only a 45-minute commute from your office. My current commute is 12 minutes. A small sacrifice for your future nephew," my mother said, finally showing a flicker of emotion. Disappointment. "We raised you to understand family obligations, Michael. Sarah's condition requires immediate action. Her condition is pregnancy, not a terminal illness," I shot back, "and it is Tom's responsibility to provide for her and the baby, not mine." Tom, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. "Actually, with my music career just taking off, it makes more sense for us to minimize expenses. Your parents explained how you make 3 times what I do. Because I am a software engineer who worked his ass off for 7 years, not a DJ exploring his artistic journey?" I snapped. "Michael," my father's voice carried that warning tone I remembered from childhood. "Your attitude is disappointing. We are discussing logical resource allocation, not personal attacks. Resource allocation. This is my life. And Sarah is creating his life," my mother countered smoothly. "Your apartment has proximity to better schools, parks, and pediatric facilities. Your neighborhood has a walk score of 89. Sarah's current area scores 61. The numbers speak for themselves. They literally had data. Spreadsheets. My father showed me a cost-benefit analysis of me moving versus Sarah moving. They had calculated square footage per person average cost school districts I would not need for at least a decade, if ever." "You have been planning this," I said slowly. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since Sarah announced her pregnancy 6 weeks ago," my mother confirmed without hesitation. "We needed time to research optimal solutions. And it never occurred to you to, I do not know. Ask me." "We are asking now," my father said, though we all knew they were not asking anything. "The moving truck is scheduled for the 15th. That gives you 19 days to sort your arrangements." "No." I stood up. "The answer is no. This is insane. You cannot just decide I am giving up my apartment." Sarah's eyes welled with tears, the first genuine emotion anyone had shown. "I cannot believe you would prioritize your comfort over your nephew's well-being. I am prioritizing my basic right to the home I pay for." "The lease allows for family transfers," my father said calmly. "We reviewed it. Sarah qualifies as immediate family. The landlord confirmed the process would be straightforward." "You contacted my landlord." I felt the room spin slightly. "You actually contacted Mr. Peterson?" "We needed to verify logistics," my mother explained. "He was very understanding. He even mentioned the apartment would be perfect for a young family." I grabbed my jacket. "This conversation is over. The apartment is mine. End of discussion." "Michael," my father called as I headed for the door. "Emotional reactions will not change the situation. We will send you the studio listings we have compiled. Please review them objectively." I left without another word. Driving home in a daze, they presented taking my home like a PowerPoint on quarterly earnings. No emotion, no acknowledgement of what they were asking, just cold efficiency. That was 5 days ago. Since then, I have received 6 emails with apartment listings, a helpful moving checklist from my mother, a text from Sarah about paint colors for the nursery, a formal letter from my parents outlining the transition timeline. Am I insane here? They are acting like I am the unreasonable one for not immediately surrendering my apartment to my pregnant sister. They keep using phrases like logical choice and family optimization. Like we are discussing a business merger, not stealing my home. My lease is not up for 8 more months. I checked. Yes, there is a family transfer clause, but it requires my signature. I am not signing anything, but the fact they have already researched this is terrifying. What do I do when my entire family has apparently decided my life is less important than my sister's pregnancy? Update 1 week later. I genuinely did not expect to be updating this soon, but the situation has escalated beyond anything I imagined. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. To those who said they cannot force you to move, you were technically right. To those who warned me to secure my apartment, I wish I had acted faster. This morning I woke up to knocking at my door. Not aggressive, just persistent. I opened it to find my parents standing there with Sarah and Tom. Behind them was a 26-foot moving truck and 2 men in matching uniforms holding dollies. "Good morning, Michael," my father said pleasantly. "We are here to begin the transition." I stood there in my pajamas, coffee mug in hand, trying to process the sight. The transition. "We sent you the schedule," my mother said, pulling out her phone. "Today we are moving your non-essential items to storage. Tomorrow we will handle the furniture you will not need for your studio. I have not agreed to any of this." Michael. My father sighed with practiced patience. "We have been through this. Sarah's pregnancy is advancing. Every day of delay increases stress on the baby. We have secured you a beautiful studio downtown. The lease starts Monday. You signed a lease in my name. A deposit hold," he clarified. "You will need to sign the actual documents, but we wanted to ensure availability." Sarah stepped forward, visibly pregnant now in a way she was not last week, or maybe she was just emphasizing it more. "Can we just start with the office I need to measure for the crib?" She actually tried to walk past me into my apartment. I blocked the doorway. "Absolutely not." "Sir," one of the movers approached. "We are on a schedule. Should we start loading?" "No one is loading anything," I said firmly. "This is my apartment. I live here. Nobody is moving anything." My father turned to the movers. "Give us a moment, please." Then back to me. "Michael, let us discuss this rationally. There is nothing to discuss. You show up with a moving truck to steal my apartment and want to discuss rationality. No one is stealing anything," my mother said in that maddeningly calm tone. "We are facilitating an efficient family housing reorganization. The studio we found for you is actually quite charming. Exposed brick modern appliances. I do not care if it is the Taj Mahal. This is my home." Tom, who had been silent, finally spoke up. "Look, man, we could do this the easy way or the hard way." "Are you threatening me?" I could not believe it. "Are you actually threatening me at my own door?" "No." My father intervened quickly. Tom misspoke. "We are simply pointing out that pregnant women have legal protections. Sarah cannot live in a studio with black mold. There is no black mold in their studio. The test results suggest otherwise," my mother said, producing a document. "We had it tested last week. The levels are not dangerous for adults, but for a developing fetus. You fabricated a mold report." "We had a legitimate test conducted," my father corrected. "The results are what they are. The point is, Sarah needs immediate rehousing. Your apartment is the logical solution." Sarah started crying, not dramatically. Just steady tears rolling down her cheeks. "I cannot believe you are being so selfish, Michael. When did you become this person who values square footage over family? When my family decided I do not deserve basic respect." The movers were getting restless. Neighbors had started peering out their doors. Mrs. Chen from across the hall watched with undisguised interest. "Perhaps we should continue this inside," my father suggested. "You are not coming in." "Then we will wait," my mother said simply. She turned to the movers. "Thank you for your patience. We will need a few more minutes." And they did. They actually sat down on the hallway floor. My parents, my pregnant sister, and her useless boyfriend just sitting in my hallway like some bizarre protest. "This is harassment," I said. "This is family," my father replied calmly. I went inside and called the police. I actually called the police on my own family. 2 officers arrived 20 minutes later, during which time my family had remained seated, my mother occasionally calling out helpful suggestions about the studio apartment. So Officer Martinez said, after hearing both sides, "You want them to leave and they want to move you out. They have no right to my apartment." "But she is pregnant," Officer Kim noted, as if that explained everything. "That does not give her the right to my home." No, Officer Martinez agreed. "But they also have not committed a crime. They are sitting in a hallway. The truck is legally parked, unless they try to force entry." "We would never," my mother assured them. "We are simply waiting for Michael to see reason." The officers strongly suggested everyone go home and sort this out privately. My parents agreed immediately, all cooperation and understanding. The moving truck left. My family stood up, brushed themselves off, and prepared to leave. "We will be back tomorrow with the paperwork," my father informed me. "Please review the studio lease tonight. The landlord needs an answer by Monday." After they left, I called in sick to work and spent the day researching tenant rights, family law, and restraining orders. I also called Mr. Peterson, my landlord. "Oh, Michael," he said warmly. "Your parents are lovely people. So exciting about the baby." "Mr. Peterson, I am not moving. Whatever they told you." "Oh, I know these family transitions can be complicated, but a new baby, that is wonderful. Your sister seems very nice. She asked about adding a changing table to the bathroom." "She what?" "Just preliminary questions. Nothing is decided until you sign the transfer papers, of course, which I will not be doing." There was a pause. "Well, that is between you and your family. But Michael, I should mention if you are planning to break the lease early, the penalty is 2 months' rent. Your parents mentioned they would cover it if needed. I am not breaking my lease." "Of course not. But if you were to decide well, the option is there." After we hung up, I realized how thoroughly they had laid the groundwork. My landlord now saw me as the difficult tenant keeping a pregnant woman from housing. My neighbors had witnessed me turning away my concerned family. They had created a narrative where I was the villain. I changed my locks that afternoon. It cost me $300 I had not budgeted for, but it felt necessary. I also installed a doorbell camera and sent an email to my landlord confirming in writing that I would not be transferring my lease or moving out. Then I texted my family group chat. "I have changed the locks. Do not come to my apartment again uninvited. I will not be moving. This discussion is over." My father responded. "Emotional decisions often lead to regret. We will give you the weekend to reconsider." My mother. "The studio will be held until Monday. Please think of Sarah's baby." Sarah. "I cannot believe you changed the locks on your pregnant sister." Tom. "Real mature, bro. It has been 6 hours since then. I have already received 3 listings for other studios just in case you prefer these: a photo of a crib Sarah wants to put in my office, a text from my aunt asking why I am being difficult, a message from my cousin saying she heard I was moving downtown. They are telling everyone I am moving. They are literally manifesting this into existence through sheer will and spreadsheets. I do not know what Monday will bring, but I am not backing down. This is my home. I pay for it. I live here. And no amount of family manipulation will change that. But I am also realizing they are not going to stop. They have decided this is happening, and they are treating my resistance like a temporary glitch in their planning. I am sleeping with my desk against the door tonight, just in case. Update 2 weeks later. I really thought I could hold them off. I thought changing the locks and standing firm would be enough. I was wrong. Monday morning came with a registered letter, not from my family, from a lawyer. My parents had actually hired a lawyer to send me a formal notice about family mediation regarding housing arrangements. They had not sued me yet, but the letter strongly suggested that amicable resolution would be preferable to formal legal proceedings. I work from home on Mondays, so I was there when the second wave hit. Around 10 in the morning, my doorbell camera alerted me to movement. It was Sarah, but not alone. She had brought my grandmother, Nana Rose, 83 years old, survivor of 2 wars and the emotional nuclear weapon of our family. She stood there with her walker looking frail and disappointed. "Michael," she called through the door. I did not raise my grandchildren to abandon family in need. I opened the door because what else could I do? Let my grandmother stand in the hallway. "Nana, they sent you?" "No one sends me anywhere," she said, shuffling past me into my apartment. But when I heard my grandson was letting his pregnant sister live in squalor while he rattled around in all this space. She does not live in squalor. She has a perfectly fine studio with black mold. There is no mold. They made that up. Nana looked at me with those eyes that had seen everything. "Michael, when I was pregnant with your father, we lived in a 1-room apartment with 3 other families, but we helped each other. We did not hoard space we did not need. This is not hoarding. This is my home that I pay for." Sarah had followed us in, already taking photos of my office. "The crib would go here," she said to Nana, "and we could put the changing table where his desk is." "You are not putting anything anywhere," I snapped. "Michael James Harrison?" Nana's voice cut through me like ice. "That is no way to speak to your pregnant sister." The visit lasted 2 hours. 2 hours of guilt manipulation and Nana's stories about family sacrifice. By the time they left, I felt like I had been emotionally waterboarded, but I still had not agreed to move. Tuesday brought a new tactic. Tom showed up with a contractor just to get estimates, he said, when I refused to let them in for the nursery renovation. "There is no nursery? This is my office." The contractor looked confused. "The lady said she was moving in next month." "She is not." Tom shrugged. "Well, reschedule when you are feeling more reasonable." Wednesday. My mother came by with a photographer for the listing photos, she explained. "If you are going to be stubborn, Sarah will need to find something else. We need photos of what she is missing out on for the apartment applications. You cannot photograph my apartment. Then let Sarah have it." No. She left, but not before loudly telling Mrs. Chen how unfortunate it was that Sarah's baby would be born into inadequate housing because of family selfishness. Thursday was quiet. Too quiet. I should have known they were planning something. Friday afternoon, I got a call from my boss. "Hey, Michael, HR just reached out. They got a call about relocating you to the downtown office." "What?" "I work remotely. We do not have a downtown office." That is what I told them. But your father seemed very insistent that you be moving downtown and needed the transfer. He mentioned family medical issues. There are no medical issues. I am not moving. Okay, just checking. But Michael, is everything all right? Your dad sounded pretty concerned. They had called my employer. They had actually tried to reorganize my job to force me downtown. Saturday morning, 8 in the morning, doorbell camera alert. My parents were back, but this time with someone new, a woman in a suit carrying a clipboard. Social services. She identified herself when I opened the door. We received a concern about a pregnant woman being denied adequate housing by a family member. That is not she has housing. She has an apartment with environmental hazards. According to the report, there are no hazards. This is harassment. The social worker looked tired. Sir, I just need to verify that no one is being denied necessary resources. Can you confirm that your sister has safe housing? Yes, she has a studio apartment with her boyfriend, and you are unwilling to provide larger accommodations despite having space. It is my space that I pay for. She made notes. No legal obligation, of course. Just checking on the welfare concern. After she left, I called my parents, furious. My father answered calmly. Michael, these situations escalate when people are not reasonable. You called social services on me? We expressed concern about Sarah's living situation. Their involvement was their decision. This is insane. This is a family working to protect its most vulnerable member. Your sister is creating the next generation. Your apartment is just walls and floors. It is my walls and floors. For now, the threat hung there unspoken but clear. Sunday, I woke up to find a for rent sign in front of my building, not for my apartment, for the studio in the basement, the one my parents had tried to get me to take. Someone had already applied and been rejected according to Mr. Peterson when I called him. Yeah. Couple named Harrison said they were holding it for their son, but then withdrew the application. Weird situation. They had applied for the studio in my name and then withdrawn it, making it look like I had changed my mind about moving. That evening, my entire extended family had clearly been informed of the situation. I received texts from cousins calling me selfish, Facebook messages from aunts I had not spoken to in years, an email from my uncle, a real estate agent with studio listings, a voicemail from my other grandmother asking why I hated babies. But the real blow came Monday morning. Another registered letter, this time from my landlord's attorney. Dear Mr. Harrison, we have been informed of a potential lease violation regarding unauthorized occupancy and denial of access to family members listed on the emergency contact forms. While no formal complaint has been filed, we encourage you to resolve any family disputes that might affect your tenancy. Please note that your lease includes provisions for family transfers and emergency relocations. We trust you will handle this matter appropriately. They had weaponized my emergency contacts. Sarah was listed as someone who could access my apartment in emergencies, standard family stuff from when I had moved in. Now they were using it to suggest I was violating my lease by keeping her out. I called a lawyer that afternoon, $400 consultation fee, to tell me that while my parents could not force me to move, they could make my life extraordinarily difficult if they chose to. He also mentioned that family court, while unlikely to rule against me, would be expensive and public. They cannot take your apartment, he assured me, but they can destroy your relationship with your family and possibly your reputation if they are determined enough. They are already doing that. Then you need to decide what you are willing to lose. That night, I sat in my apartment, and tried to think. They had been at this for 3 weeks. They had involved my grandmother, my employer, social services, my landlord, and the extended family. They had spent money on lawyers' applications, moving trucks and contractors, all because they decided my sister deserved my space more than I did. The worst part, they never once acknowledged what they were asking. Never once said, "We know this is huge," but never admitted they were trying to take something from me. In their minds, they were simply correcting an inefficiency. I am not moving. I need to say that again. I am not moving. But I'm starting to realize this is not about the apartment anymore. It is about whether I exist as an independent adult or just as a resource for my family to allocate as they see fit. Tomorrow, Sarah's baby shower invitations go out. My mother already texted me the registry with a note. Since you are not providing housing, perhaps you could be generous with gifts. The apartment address listed for gifts to be sent to mine. They are so confident I will cave that they are already using my address for the baby shower. I am sleeping with the desk against the door again tonight, and tomorrow I am filing for a restraining order. This is not over. Final update 3 months later. I am writing this from my apartment. My apartment, the same one I have been in this whole time. But getting here, staying here cost me more than I ever imagined. After my last update, I did file for a restraining order. It was denied. The judge said family disagreements about housing did not meet the threshold for protection unless there was threat of physical harm. My parents had been too smart for that. Everything they had done was technically legal, just morally bankrupt. But filing that order changed something. It was like I had crossed a line from difficult family member to enemy of the family. The harassment did not stop. It evolved. First came the wellness checks. Multiple times a week, police would show up because someone reported concerns about my mental health. My parents had crafted a narrative. Their son was having a breakdown, isolating himself, refusing to help his pregnant sister, showing signs of paranoid delusion by claiming his family was after his apartment. Officer Martinez, who had responded to that first call, pulled me aside during the fourth wellness check. Look, I get it. Family stuff is complicated, but these calls will not stop until you resolve this. Maybe just consider moving. I was not going to say that, but he was. Then came the lease transfer attempt. My parents had somehow gotten Sarah to sign a lease transfer document and submitted it to my landlord with my forged signature. It was obviously forged. I could prove I was at work when it was supposedly signed, but Mr. Peterson called me in for a meeting. I am not saying you should move, he said carefully, but this situation is becoming disruptive to other tenants. Mrs. Chen has complained about the constant police visits. The Johnsons are concerned about people sitting in the hallways. I have to think about the building stability. You are threatening to evict me because my family is harassing me. I am suggesting that resolved family situations make better tenancies. I hired that lawyer for real then. $3,000 retainer to send cease and desist letters to my family and a formal notice to my landlord that any lease action without my actual consent would result in legal action. It bought me 2 weeks of peace. Then Sarah went into false labor. I found out when my phone exploded with messages at 2 in the morning on a Tuesday. Sarah is in the hospital. The stress caused complications. She might lose the baby. This is your fault. I drove to the hospital in a panic. Whatever our fight, I did not want anything to happen to her or the baby. But when I got there, Sarah was sitting up in bed, looking tired but fine. False alarm, she said quietly when I entered. But the doctor said stress is not good for the baby. My parents stood by her bedside, looking at me with identical expressions of disappointment. The doctor said she needs stable housing, my mother informed me. The uncertainty is affecting her blood pressure. Then Tom should get a real job and provide it. Tom, who was in the corner playing on his phone, looked up. I have 3 gigs this month. That is not a job. That is a hobby. Michael? My father's voice was steel. Your sister is in the hospital because of pregnancy complications exacerbated by housing instability, and you're arguing semantics. She is in the hospital because you have all convinced her she deserves something that is not hers. A nurse poked her head in. I need to ask you to keep it down. I left, but not before Sarah said quietly, I already told the baby about their nursery in Uncle Michael's apartment. I hope I do not have to tell them it was a lie. That night I came home to find my door lock had been glued. Someone and I knew who had put super glue in the lock mechanism. I had to call a locksmith at 11 in the evening. Another $200 I did not budget for. The next morning, eviction notice. Not real. My parents had created a fake one and posted it on my door for all my neighbors to see. But the damage was done. Everyone in the building now thought I was being evicted. My breaking point came 2 weeks later. I had been working from home in an important client meeting when my internet cut out, then my power, then my water. Somehow, my family had convinced utility companies there was a transfer of residence and had everything shut off for the safety of the incoming pregnant tenant. It took 3 days to get everything restored. 3 days of lost work, cold showers at the gym, and eating takeout because I could not cook. My client was understanding but clearly questioning my reliability. That was when Nana Rose called. Not to guilt trip to talk. Michael, come see me alone. I went because, despite everything, I loved my grandmother. She was in her apartment, the one she had lived in for 40 years. Sit, she commanded. I sat. Your parents are wrong, she said simply. I nearly fell off my chair. What? They are wrong. The apartment is yours. Sarah should find her own place. Tom should support his family. Then why? Because I am old Michael. And when I am gone, this family will only have each other. Your parents think they are helping Sarah, but they are destroying the family. And you are letting them. I am letting them. They are trying to steal my home. And you are protecting walls instead of relationships. So I should just give in. No, you should be smarter. She leaned forward. Your parents respond to logic and data. Yes. So give them logic and data. That conversation changed my approach. Instead of just defending, I went on offense. I hired a private investigator. Yes, it cost another $1,500 I could barely afford, but what he found was worth it. Tom was not just a failing DJ. He had a trust fund, a substantial one. His parents had cut him off until he got serious about life. But the money existed. He could access it anytime he chose to grow up. I also had the PI document Sarah's apartment. No mold, perfect safety records, better condition than 60% of rentals in our city. I had him pull comparable rentals showing pregnant women and families living happily in studio apartments all over the city. Then I created my own presentation slides and everything. I called a family meeting at my apartment. They came suspicious but curious. Since you respond to data, I began let us look at data. I showed them Tom's trust fund information, the real estate comparable, the false mold report they had commissioned. Yes, I found the company they had used and got records. The actual cost of their harassment campaign, over $12,000 spent on lawyers' applications, contractors, and various schemes. For $12,000, I said you could have put a down payment on a 2-bedroom condo for Sarah. Instead, you have spent it trying to steal mine. My father started to speak, but I was not done. You have also committed fraud, the forged signature harassment, documented defamation, telling my employer lies, federal crimes, Mail fraud with a fake eviction state crimes false reports to social services. I pulled out a thick folder. This is the criminal complaint I am filing tomorrow, unless this stops completely immediately forever. You would send your parents to jail, my mother gasped. You would make your son homeless. Sarah started crying real tears this time. I just wanted a nice place for my baby. Then I asked Tom to access his trust fund. Everyone turned to Tom, who went pale. That is not. Your parents said to grow up, I corrected. Getting a job and supporting your child would qualify. The room exploded. My parents turned on Tom. Sarah turned on Tom. Tom tried to explain why he could not access money that was artistically tainted by his parents' expectations. I sat back and watched the family that had united against me turn on each other. In the end, Tom accessed his trust fund. They bought a small house in the suburbs better than my apartment for raising a child. My parents, furious at being deceived about Tom's finances, redirected their energy toward making him prove himself as a father. The family relationships are destroyed, though. I still have my apartment, but I do not have a family. Not really. We do holidays with the politeness of strangers. Sarah had her baby a boy, and I have seen him twice. She still thinks I was selfish. My parents still think I was illogical. They treat me like a defective unit they cannot quite figure out how to repair. But I am typing this from my apartment. My office is still my office. My commute is still 12 minutes. My life is still mine. Was it worth it? Ask me in another 3 months when the family Christmas gathering I will not be invited to happens. Or ask me now as I sit in my peaceful apartment, no longer checking doorbell cameras or sleeping with furniture against the door. I do not know if I won or lost. I just know I survived. The baby's name is James. They gave him my middle name. I found out from Facebook. Sarah posted named after the uncle we hope he will one day meet when selfishness gives way to family love. Even in victory, apparently, I am the villain. But I am the villain with his own apartment. And sometimes that has to be enough.